find ourselves up with HeroesHearth 2-0 on No Tomorrow here in HGC North America, where we're getting tangled up in all forms or fashion here. We're just trying to see HeroesHearth. They didn't exactly have the dominant performance in game number 1, but it was definitely there in game number 2. A place where you expect them to be, but No Tomorrow, they're showing that they're not willing to concede at any point. They're making a lot of right calls. It just maybe compositionally game number 2, maybe one late game decision game number 1. See if they can reel it back maybe game number 3.
Yeah, and I feel like the game number 1 with the Abathur on the other side of the table, being able to deal with that, it's pretty difficult, especially the strengths towards HeroesHearth Esports. But then picking up for themselves, Abathur comes with a very unique playstyle, even with the roster that you're end up playing on with him. So I feel like that was one of those moments where, especially with the role changes coming in with the group, it was just a little bit too much to kind of master, especially against a team like HeroesHearth Esports. So I'm hoping they have what it takes here in game 3.
Well, as I said, in going into game number 2, every map is an Abathur map when you are HeroesHearth, and Dragonshire, no different. We've seen them run it on this battleground before. It's another pickup for them. So it's always something that No Tomorrow will have to consider. Maybe not an Abathur map for them, as Towers of Doom can kind of be for everybody, but we know HeroesHearth loves to run their style, their flavor. We'll see if they get that opportunity here, but Dragonshire definitely very different over the last 2 battlegrounds we saw.
And if I was No Tomorrow here and I put a lot of weight onto this game itself, if I was going to do, catch something off guard, I immediately look at HeroesHearth Esports, and based on the performance we got in games 1 and 2, I'd be looking at Homicidal. You know he's going to be the offlane. It's a battleground. We can get pressure onto the offlane, and that is going to be the least comfortable player on this roster, just not purely on individual skill level, just on lack of time to be able to play with the roster. So that was something I would like to see, not only just purely because I think it's a very solid approach, but I also think it would really kind of limit HeroesHearth with the roster that they're playing with today.
I want to see if we do get a change up from No Tomorrow, because it was their series earlier after we heard about the role swaps that was like, oh, you know what? They could go triple melee here because Tomster used to be the melee, now in that range role, but flexes over. He's supposed to be more of that primary carry there, but whenever they need it, he can flex over. 2 games so far in this series, he's been on Thrall. And the numbers were pretty substantial in that last game, but is it really amounting to anything? Is it a matter of changing up the draft at this point, maybe getting Tomster back onto something else where he has a different impact? But this is another map where we have seen Thrall rise in priority to be that mid lane soak. I mean, I think Jay Shrite has been the Zeratul player in the past. Maybe flex around with that element and see if you can maybe shift things up here on Dragonshire.
But one thing that I do have concerns knowing we are going to Dragonshire is beyond, knowing that HeroesHearth Esports is very, very comfortable with it. It puts it in a position where they've shown so far throughout their drafts to me to have a heavy understanding. It's mainly the Leoric ban with the off lane and seeing that come to light on Towers of Doom. I look at that and I go, Dragonshire, understanding that kind of level of macro is really going to be something you can use to your advantage. And I wonder if No Tomorrow is going to identify that they need to win one of 2 macro wars. It is either mid or it is on top. And if they struggle in either one of those avenues, I can't help but feel like they're going to play that Dragonshire ring around the rosy.
Well, they have run in the past. It was when Phase 2 started, and it's been a while since they've run it, but they did try their hand at the Dahaka Falstad. They actually pushed Tempo Storm, if I remember correctly, to the brink, ended up giving up a backdoor DK. They're like, that's nice that you're going to go get this. We'll just go down and push bot lane. The next time, that's actually where they picked up one of their wins using the same style. It is conceivable for No Tomorrow to say, hey, look, if we get the Dahaka, something that we know we can play with, maybe pick up the Falstad in the later part if they wanted to go down memory lane.
And if they avoid that avenue, but also to stick to some of the parameters I've kind of been alluding to earlier, I think the biggest thing would come down to things like the blazon to the off lane. If you end up going that direction, that's one of the better off lane kind of wave clear pressurers. But it's mainly just, if they run a 1-2-2, make sure your 2-man has higher wave clear potential than your opponent's. And if not, make it a 1-3-1 and very fluid laning between those 3-man. Is something that I can't help but expect to, I think, see climb through all of North American play, as we have gotten so many kind of changes to turrets and things of the like. It adjusts on each battleground independently, and I feel like Dragonshire in itself has that one key element.
One of those heroes that we've seen teams start to pick up on this battleground, it's something we definitely see, and not just like in a 2-1-2, but in a 4-1 rotation. And when we look at Korea, they started to apply more and more of that Junkrat. We started seeing more teams start to apply that Junkrat pressure to the bot lane because you don't ever win it. Nobody can really push into it given the concussion mine. You have great wave clear. It is something that teams have started to pick up more on here in North America.
And that is a very good placeholder, especially on that bottom half. But if you can't cater him to the wave clear win over mid, then you lose on the rotational advantage at bottom afterwards. So I guess what I'm saying is, like, as long as you're winning that wave clear in some manner, and then you have that defensive on the bottom half, like a Junkrat is one of the best because he can get that clear, so you limit the amount of siege if you're losing the mid wave kind of macro sense. Either way here, one of the focus has to be given, and Deckard sadly doesn't give us any information one direction or another. If anything, because we have gotten at least one ban into the offlane, I would say maybe sets HeroesHearth to be able to set the tone toward that.
The picks for HeroesHearth will always determine on whether we get an Abathur style composition. I'd say with this, it's somewhat less likely than we normally would, especially the Diablo being one of the picks. You have self-sustain, but it doesn't really function the same way. It does play more towards the, hey, we can get a lot of aggression out. For No Tomorrow, I'd love to see them pick up a Murd in here. Something that gives Casanova that frontline control that can deal with the potential onslaught coming from a Diablo. Unless they want to go into a safer route Johanna, they do get the Murd.
There's the Murden and then the Rainer. So looking at this, right, we know that we're going to have those three. This is our tri-lane. We've built our tri-lane already. That is it for No Tomorrow. So with that in mind, Dahaka, one of the best macro offlaners other than debatably Blaze and Leoric. And it's not like Dahaka, Deckard, Kane, Murden, or Rainer have enough of individual wave clear for me to be too concerned, which is why you see the ban on the Blaze into the offlane to make sure that they don't lose the macro sense there. I think all you're going to see now is HeroesHearth, make sure you win the wave clear on the mid, you win the wave clear up towards top, and then it is going to be a bullying session here. This is the second game in a row we've gotten this from them, and I personally love it, but I can't help but feel like it's one of those things that they're showing we know something that you might not.
Wonder if they're afraid of Zeratul Arthalon. They're going to take Hanzo away from Kron. No, he has that high impact, which leaves Phoenix potentially here. We know that also something like a Tracer Tassadar, a far cry from what it used to be, but something that we have seen in the past from HeroesHearth. But for HeroesHearth, I think that they're going to flex around something. They, too, can run the Thrall. When they've run that in the past, I don't know if they have the same level of coordination with a sub this week. Ooh. Alrighty. That is Arthalon's hero.
Yes.
Because Cassia has generally always been Kron hero, and at the end of the game, you look at Kron numbers like, oh, that's pretty terrifying.
It is. It is. It's even more terrifying when, again, looking at now the tri-lanes unfolding. Cassia, Kel'Thas, Diablo. Cassia will be the placeholder bottom. Kel'Thas, Diablo. Who wins in the wave clear? Murden, Rainer, or Kel'Thas, Diablo? Very heavy in favor of Kel'Thas, Diablo. And that is going to provide rotational advantages for this. It's compensated here by the Leoric pickup on the back end. I do think it's going to hurt when it comes to the teamfight capabilities for No Tomorrow, but then they get themselves the Junkrat as well. That will be able to drastically help them within the 4, but it's very important Jay Shri never fail within those rotations to help make up and keep up with that Kel'Thas.
Well,
and then we got Ana.
We got Ana. It seems like everybody but June gets to play Ana.
Yeah.
So it's a matter of time. It's a matter of time till we get a June Ana. But this does lead into, it's something you pointed out when we saw Kel'Thas previously, going into the level 7 talent with your Verdant Spheres. You get that, you get the double auto attack, all of a sudden you've got more spell power. Generally it's globes at level 1, but you get that bonus spell power at level 7. Pyroblast looks pretty cool. Then you're like, oh wait, Ana, you have something post level 10. Let's kill somebody. I'm pretty sure almost nobody lives.
No, it's very difficult to be able to survive the Nano Boost Pyroblast combo opportunity, especially even if you avoid the Pyroblast, you know, cool, sweet Kamehameha thing floating through the air and eventually hitting. It's really slow, and there's a lot of cooler elements.
What did you call it?
Kamehameha. Like, it's a little death ball that just kind of like floats. I know, Kamehameha is more like a beam. I don't know.
I don't know either.
Wait, are you... Hello?
I'm assuming
apparently
we're Dragon Ball.
Yeah, you have... Hello? Do you understand the name Goku?
Who?
And I don't mean the Octalysis player. Hello?
You know, I was part of Dragon Ball X.
I thought all Dragon Ball fans disowned that version.
I didn't know there was one.
I don't know either.
Either way, we got this game underway. Charge Strikes we know is very good in terms of that damage, but we're going Thunder Fury, getting that single target damage. Kel'Thas, Dreadnought. It's always the fear of Kel'Thas, one of the rare assassins that has the full lockdown potential in terms of CC with that Gravity Lapse. Could potentially be under that triple Gravity Lapse with an empowered one. multiple members, but Arthon has to make sure he survives for now. BBJ going to dish out the healing. But you get a Diablo flip into anything Kel'Thas. This might be it right here. See if they can dot somebody up. That's actually going to be Tomster, First Blood, Living Bomb taking care of that health bar. But the damage potential on the side of HeroesHearth is terrifying.
And that was a really good communication already displayed by HeroesHearth Esports. And the fact that Raynor was willing to call out Arthlon's positioning for the 1 versus 1 and take the trade, met with a gravity lapse, and then an on a dart follow-up. But nobody broke the damage, allowing Homicidal to just walk his happy little Dahaka self up to the brush, drop a drag, and end the life there of No Tomorrow. It just shows the next level communication between mainly the follow-up from the gravity lapse into the on a sleep dart and nobody dropping any damage after that time frame. Laning advantage obviously in favor of HeroesHearth after getting First Blood over the middle lane. That's going to set the tempo heavily into their favor and puts a lot more kind of onus there onto No Tomorrow over the next couple of minutes here to restore balance.
Yeah, hitting those stationary targets, obviously the easier it is for Ana to stack up, the better. Going into that piercing darts at level 1, once you hit that 20, does allow you to have a far greater impact as an Ana support. So that will be something to keep. Nice sidestep there by BBJ as Casanova comes in for the stun, but No Tomorrow. They're going to take control of this bottom shrine for now.
But Junkrat is doing a great job of actually clearing the wave advantage here. No Tomorrow's doing a really solid job, except getting caught out there is going to set them back quite a bit. But No Tomorrow is using the Junkrat to make sure they're winning in the rotations and